With the original Star Wars trilogy coming to an end with the release of 1983's Return of the Jedi, and no sign of further films at that time being developed by George Lucas, Star Wars would instead continue to grow and develop in other forms of media, most notably in the ever-increasing number of novels set in that universe, which would prove to be so popular with fans that they would even inspire computer games developers to create games set in that expanded universe, while also adding their own ideas and elements to its mythology. Sadly, creativity was not as strong in the production of the TV movie Caravan of Courage, an Ewok adventure, and its sequel, Ewoks: The Battle of Endor.
Ewoks.
Following those came only 2 releases set in the Star Wars universe. The animated series Droids, which followed the adventures of R2-D2 and C-3PO, which was set before the events of A New Hope, and Ewoks, which was set before the Return of the Jedi. 17 years later, Cartoon Network, in association with Lucasfilm, aired Star Wars Clone Wars. The series was produced by Genndy Tartakovsky. George Lucas also served as an executive producer, as well as Sam Register, who is a massive presence in animation. Star Wars Clone Wars, sometimes referred to as Tartakovsky's Clone Wars, was adapted, directed, produced and co-written by Genndy Tartakovsky, who was also the creator of Dexter's Laboratory and Samurai Jack. In short, Tartakovsky is a big deal. The series was produced and released between the films Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. It was the first of many works to explore the conflict set between the 2 films, in particular following Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker's experiences during that period. Main theme and intro. Short, simple, and extremely effective in conveying the themes of war using several distinct battle sounds found in the Star Wars universe. Story and character. Tartakovsky, as well as adapting, directing, and producing, also co-wrote the entire series. Again, he is a big deal. The first season of Clone Wars, known together as Volume 1, was produced in a 2 to 3 minute micro format, following the exploits of various characters from the Star Wars prequel trilogy. As mentioned earlier, Anakin Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi are often the main focus, in particular when foreshadowing Anakin's destiny. The Jedi Knights are also given the chance to develop in their own adventures, in particular Jedi Master Yoda, Mace Windu, Kit Fisto, and Sas Tin.
Wait, no Plo Koon? Where's Plo Koon?
Also getting a strong focus are the clone troopers, and their various specialist fighting sections, utilised in the war against the battle droid armies of the Separatists. The Sith also feature, with Count Dooku having an arc which sees him training an apprentice, as well as the introduction of several new characters created for the series. Of particular note, the first ever appearance of General Grievous. The world of Star Wars is also explored with several iconic races and locations featured over the course of the series. George Lucas gave Tartakovsky all the major events set during the Clone Wars in order to help better integrate it into the continuity of the films. The second and final season, also known as Volume 2, consisted of 5 15-minute episodes and would see a time jump in the war, with a strong focus on the events leading to the beginning of Revenge of the Sith. Design and style. As mentioned earlier, Tartakovsky adapted, directed, produced and co-wrote the entire series. His previous work includes creating the excellent Dexter's Laboratory and the masterpiece that is Samurai Jack. Tartakovsky is a big deal. He also directed the Hotel Transylvania film trilogy.
I kind of like Adam Sandler movies.
Tartakovsky was a pivotal crew member of the Powerpuff Girls and worked on other notable series such as Tiny Toon Adventures, The Critic, and Batman the Animated Series. A frequent collaborator of Tartakovsky is art director Paul Rudish, who also co-created Symbionic Titan and has previously written and designed characters or directed art for episodes of series including Dexter's Laboratory, The Powerpuff Girls, and Samurai Jack. Rudish directed the art for the entirety of Clone Wars' production. In 2013, Rudish created executive produced and directed a series of 19 3.5-minute shorts starring Mickey Mouse. Another frequent collaborator of Tartakovsky's is Brian Andrews, who worked as a writer and storyboard artist. Andrews has an extensive resume in storyboarding shows previously mentioned, as well as in feature films, in particular a large number of Marvel Studios productions. He has also directed episodes of Jackie Chan Adventures and Men in Black the series. Clone Wars employs a similar animation style to Samurai Jack.
Hey, no complaints here.
And fuses the style of that show with the exotic locations and species of the Star Wars universe, creating some truly remarkable visuals and giving the show a real sense of depth and atmosphere. To help with its development, George Lucas gave Tartakovsky all the designs for the ships and characters featured in Revenge of the Sith, in order to better connect the series to the movie. Action. It's Samurai Jack meets Star Wars. That kind of says it all.
But I'm excited now and I want to talk about it.
Genndy Tartakovsky directed the entire series, and though it is very stylistic animation, it finds a fantastic balance with being something new, but also unquestionably Star Wars. The physics of this universe don't quite work in the same way as the films, in particular when it comes to the use of Force powers. Power levels are in some cases bordering on the level of the ridiculous, but as a result of this they are, well,
brilliant.
The scope of the action is something that clearly was taken into account. This is a series about war, and the show is very clever in how it depicts this with a balance that often inspires awe, but is often shocking and surprisingly brutal, with the action seamlessly moving from epic space battles to smaller character-based confrontations. A Mace Windu battle against an entire droid army is easily one of the highlights of the series, a hyperkinetic ballet of destruction and violence. The level of creativity is a constant pleasure to witness, and again shows just the sheer amount of talent involved in the show's production. Soundtrack. Incorporating elements from John Williams' iconic score, additional music was produced by composers James L. Venable and Paul Dinlita. James L. Venable is an Annie Award-winning composer working on shows which include The Powerpuff Girls, Samurai Jack, and Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. He has also composed scores for several Kevin Smith productions, including the short-lived Clerks the Animated Series and Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. Paul Dinlita's work includes composing for the series My Life as a Teenage Robot, Samurai Jack, and 2008's Superhero Movie. He also co-founded Audio Machine with fellow composer Alan Ricks, a music company specializing in trailer music. Voice cast. James Arnold Taylor is arguably the best actor to have ever played Obi-Wan Kenobi. His other work of note includes voicing Ratchet in Ratchet & Clank, and various roles in shows which include Batman the Brave and the Bold, Young Justice, and Spectacular Spider-Man. But Taylor's nuanced performance as Kenobi, acting as a balance between the performances of Alec Guinness and Ewan McGregor, is a shining example of the talent required for voice work. The strength of his performance would lead him to reprise the role in various other media. A similar situation occurred with Terrence T.C. Carson, with the character Mace Windu, also going on to play the role in every form of Star Wars media outside of the movies. Matt Lucas brings a youthful arrogance to Anakin Skywalker. Nick Jameson brings real slime to his performance of Supreme Chancellor Palpatine. Corey Burton does a great job infusing Count Dooku with power and menace. Anthony Daniels returns to voicing C-3PO. Other actors of note include Cree Summer, the voice actor supreme himself Kevin Michael Richardson, Richard McGonigal, and John DiMaggio. But Grey Griffin is the real standout in this series. Most famous for playing Vicky in The Fairly OddParents, Griffin has an extensive career in voice work, with shows including Green Lantern, Regular Show, Brickleberry, and Star vs. the Forces of Evil, as well as voicing Scooby-Doo's Daphne in various releases since 2000. She was also utterly wasted playing RC in Transformers Revenge of the Fallen. In Clone Wars, Griffin brings her considerable range to playing almost all of the show's female cast, including Ajaz Ventress, Padme Amidala, Shakti, Stas Ali, and various other supporting roles. Joining Griffin in multiple performances Andre Suglioso, who plays Captain Typho, Captain Fordo, Commander Cody, and well, all of the other clones featured in the series. Darren Norris, the voice of Cosmo, Jorgen, and Timmy's dad in The Fairly OddParents, fan favourite Knockout in Transformers Prime, as well as appearances in American Dad and the 2012 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but Norris is probably most famous for his voice work as Spotsworth in Trey Parker and Matt Stone's Team America World Police. In Clone Wars, he brings his talents to notable characters including the bounty hunter Dirge, Evan Peel, and Ki-Adi-Mundi. The Clancy Brown effect. Whenever I watch any cartoon, the first thing I check is does it feature Clancy Brown. Clancy Brown is one of the all-time greats of cinema and television, most famous for his roles as the Kurgan in Highlander and Lex Luthor in the Bruce Timm DC era. Still to this day, the best Lex Luthor. The man has done a lot of voice work over the years, to the point where his presence has almost been a constant in shows I watched growing up. As a result, any show not featuring him will never, in my eyes, be truly great.
Ah, that's a shame.
How meta is it? General Grievous's asthmatic cough in Revenge of the Sith was intended to emphasize his organic nature, as well as the flaws of having cyborg prosthetics. Grievous had previously appeared in Clone Wars, before many of his personality traits had been finalized. To reconcile the differences between the two presentations, the Clone Wars production crew inserted a scene of Mace Windu force-crushing Grievous's chest plate,
Which was awesome.
During the second volume, a lot of the story takes place on the planet Nelvan. Nelvan is actually a nod to Nelvana Studios, the company responsible for Star Wars droids and Ewoks, as well as the animated sequence featured in the Star Wars Holiday Special. The species of Nelvan resemble the dog-like creatures featured in the 1983 animated movie Rock and Roll, which was also made by Nelvana Studios. Tartakovsky also revealed that he purposely animated C-3PO with movable expressive eyes to pay homage to the distinct Nelvana animation style.
I love it.
Since its release, Clone Wars has received critical acclaim and won multiple awards, including the Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Animated Program, which it won twice for both its volumes. The success of Star Wars Clone Wars, which George Lucas referred to as the pilot series, led to a second Clone Wars series, fully CGI animated. It was also titled Star Wars Clone Wars. 5 Megaminds. Credit to George Lucas for supporting something like this, especially when considering some of his more questionable creative decisions in the past. This series is a shining example of just how fantastic and limitless a world like Star Wars can be when in the right hands. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed them, please feel free to like and subscribe and check out some of my other content. Until next time.